In this step, we are going to be making the bridge that goes across your Gumball machine box. That way candy doesn't fall through. We have glued together all four sides of our box, and we have sanded the sides flush as well as the top and the bottom flush. Our next step is to mark the bridge piece 1/16 larger than the inside of the box on the 1x2. So right here is my 1x2. I already have this marked. But what we need to do is we need to measure the inside of the box. Mine is 2.5. Yours might be different. It all depends on how well you did sawing and sanding this square to a line. So measure yours. You're going to add a 1/16 to that. So mine is 2.5 plus a 1/16. So mine is 2 9/16. I have a squared up edge here. So I measured from that squared up edge and I made a mark at 2 9/16. Our next step is to transfer the line across with a square. So just like we have done before, take a square, butt it up. Make sure your square is tight. A lot of times you see problems with students marking things square because they put the square on sideways. Make sure that square is tight. Square your line across. We're going to cut this long with a bandsaw. We're going to sand to your line and then test fit. You might need to sand a little bit more off. Test it again. Sand a little bit more off. Test again. You want this to be a snug fit. This should not be so tight you have to pound it in with a hammer because you'll break the glue joints in the corners. But it should not be so loose that it falls right through. This should be a nice friction fit. You should just be able to press it in very lightly by hand. So I'm going to go to the bandsaw, cut mine, and then I'll meet you at the belt sander and we'll sand test. And then we'll make this project fit perfect. Here we are at the belt sander. I have my project cut to my line. I'm now going to sand it square, and then after I have it sanded square, I'm going to test fit it in my project here. So I'm just going to sand it square, test it, sand a little more off, test it. And I'm going to keep going through that process until I have a nice snug fit. Now you can see I have my bridge sanded. I have my line sanded off because it was marked a little bit long. Now to test fit it, just get it in there just right. And now all I have to do is take my fingers and push it down to where it needs to stay. And we will glue that in place. The next step here says glue in place. Be sure it is level with your notches. You want this level here with your notches. That way when you put in your slide doesn't catch on it, or your slide doesn't dip and catch on the back piece. So make sure that your slide slides. Taking your bridge, put a little glue on the two ends. Not a lot of glue here. Smear it around your finger. Again, glue is water-based, so if you want to wash it off with soap and water over in the sink, you can when you're done. My project has this weird little bark of the tree on this side. I'm going to make sure that is down. I don't want that up. So I'm going to make sure that's down, and I'm going to push it into place. Mine is a very snug fit. If yours isn't quite as snug as this, we're going to use some tape to hold. We're going to use some tape to hold this up. But mine is very snug. There we go. I have it glued in place. Mine is, again, very snug, so I didn't need tape. If yours isn't as snug as mine, what you can do is take a long piece of tape. You're going to tape it to your bridge first, and then lower it down into your project and then tape your sides to the front and back of your gumball machine. That will help hold it up while it is drying, while the glue is drying. And then when it's dry, you can take your tape off. Again, mine is a very snug fit, so I didn't have to worry about that. But make sure that that is flush all the way down. Your slide should not be above the surface now. If that slide is above the surface, then you're going to have some unfortunate sanding to do. Let this dry, and then we'll move on to the next project.